Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 456 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever every week by the main man himself, the former heavyweight world title challenger, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week?
Oh, I'm doing great, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie, especially when you're connected to a strong Wi-Fi connection, which is the case today. We're going to dive straight into the review part of the show. As per usual, we're going to start here at the Copper Box Arena in Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, Hackney Wick, United Kingdom. I was going to call it the Copper Bosch, as they've been calling it, some people this week. Let's start there with that main event. Johnny Fisher now 12-0. A TKO for him in the very first round against Alan the Savage Babic, now 12-2. Like I say, stopped in the first round. I think it was about 30 or 40 seconds, something like that. Johnny Fisher just caught him with a big shot straight out the gates pretty much, and Alan Babic clearly felt the first shot that he got caught with flush, and Babic, to his credit, well, I say to his credit, he stood there and took a few good big punches from Johnny Fisher, and nothing was coming back. He completely had no defense at all. He was obviously stunned, and then he just got absolutely pummeled, really. He gets put down, he gets back up, his legs were all over the place, and of course the referee did the right thing to wave it off. So yeah, it all come to an end very quickly for Alan Babic. I did say on last week's show that this one was never going the distance. I did actually back Johnny Fisher for the first round KO as well, which of course came in. But yeah, you're going to hear me a few times on this week's podcast talking about, betting odds and stuff like that, because there was a few things I got right on the weekend. But yeah, Johnny Fisher to win by first round knockout was 4-1. I didn't tell anyone about that one in particular, but I did tell people about some of the others, and I'm going to mention them. But yeah, good win for Johnny Fisher. Like I say, it was the biggest fight of his career. It's a big name. It was always going to be an interesting kind of fight, one that you couldn't blink for. It was always going to be bombs away type of thing. But yeah, happy for Johnny Fisher. Like I say, I think he's used Babic as a bit of a stepping stone. No disrespect to Babic, but he's going to go on to bigger and better things. He can certainly punch. He's got 12 wins now, 11 by KO, and he likes to get it done nice and early, which is always good to see. Massive ticket seller, as we know. I think he's got a bright future. I think he is actually getting better and better, and still such a young guy. So I don't know where his ceiling is. I don't think anyone does just yet, but he is improving, and he's got some serious power. I think that power's real, and like I say, just so young. He could spend another 5 years, getting better and better, maybe 6-7 years, to be honest with you. And when he gets to kind of around 30 years of age, he'll be more than ready. So we'll see what happens with him. As for Alan Babic, it's the complete opposite for him. He's 12-2. He's been banged out in a round in 2 of his last 3 fights now, if you actually look at it like that. Obviously, he was way too small for Johnny Fisher, and he got banged out, didn't he, in that fight he had for the Bridgerweight world title. So yeah, it doesn't look good for him. I think he beat Steve Robinson in a fun fight, but aside from that, he's been banged out in a round either side of that victory. that's it. Let's move on. Reece Bellotti with a win. Happy for him. He's now 19-5. It was for the British and Commonwealth super featherweight titles. It ended up going 12 rounds. A unanimous decision for him over Levi Giles. Levi Giles now 15-2. Very slow start from Levi Giles. I expected more from him early on in the fight, to be honest with you, but it did take him quite a while to start warming in. I think he gave away a lot of early rounds to Reece Bellotti. Reece Bellotti was doing, his usual, really, putting a lot into every punch. He's a very fit, strong fighter, big puncher, especially for the weight. And yeah, I liked what he was doing, I did think it was worth backing him for a stoppage, of course, because you see a nice price on Reece Bellotti to win by knockout. I think it was like evens, you got to take a price like that because he does certainly bang. But even though he caught Reece Giles, even though he caught Levi Giles with a lot of big punches to the head and also to the body, he certainly went down to the body a few times with some thunderous hooks. To Levi's credit, he took those punches and actually he really poured it on Reece Bellotti in the last round. He had him in all sorts of trouble. I think the bell came at the right time for Reece Bellotti. So, yeah, he certainly won the fight on points, nice and clear. I don't think he probably expected it to go 12 rounds. But yeah, credit to Levi Giles. But again, he just didn't do enough. So I don't want to credit him too much. He really had a massive final round. But aside from that, he didn't do too much to get excited about throughout the fight. It was mainly Reece Bellotti outworking him and obviously putting, more of a dent in him than Levi Giles was putting into Bellotti. Also on the card, Macy Rose Courtney stepped up to 10 rounds for the first time in her career, and it was an unsuccessful venture. She is now 6-1. She loses her O to Jasmina Yapatoxna, who's now 8-1. This one, like I say, unanimous decision over 10-2s for Zapatoxna. I did actually back this in my boxing betting group, and Zapatoxna was to win by decision 4-1. I gave that one to everyone in there, so a lot of people backed that and got themselves, 4 times their stake and their stake return. So yeah, I just thought, Zapatoxna was quite tough, gave Shannon Ryan a decent fight, and Maisie Rose Courtney, stepping up in rounds. She's had a couple of close fights against people with really bad records, and yeah, Zapatoxna's, strong, tough, and quite experienced, I guess, in terms of who she's been in with. So I just thought it's a good price there, and it obviously ended up coming in. What else did we have? That's it for that one. Let's move now to the Honda Center in California, USA. Over here, again, another big one. I've got to say, I kind of took a bit of a guess here just because I liked the look of the price. Nate Diaz, he's now 1-1 as a pro, and it was a majority decision over 10 rounds to Jorge Masvidal, now 1-1. Again, I liked the look of the price. Nate Diaz was 15-2 to win that fight by decision, and I backed that, and I didn't even watch the fight. I fell asleep before they even walked out to the ring, and I woke up to a notification that your bet has won, and of course 15-2 is 7.5 times your stake plus your stake back, so a huge price to win at. And again, I gave that to everyone in the boxing betting group, the 200 plus people that's in there. So yeah, that was a massive one there. That was the biggest price that I won at all weekend long. Again, I didn't see the fight, and I don't really care to watch it back over 10 rounds, but a nice big win there. Also on that card, we should mention Amado Vargas, the son of Fernando Vargas, now 11-0, a KO for him in round 6 against Sean Garcia, the brother of Ryan, who's now 7-1 with a draw, loses his O. Garcia down in the 4th. Amado Vargas was clearly the better fighter. I didn't think Sean Garcia was as good as as he actually looked the other night. I gave him pretty much no chance against Amado Vargas. But to be fair to Sean Garcia, he did have something about him, even though I didn't think he had much about him in the one other fight I've seen from his career. Obviously he went to round 6 here, ended up getting stopped in the end. He took some thunderous body shots and all the rest of it. And when he got hurt, he kind of didn't know what to do. But a good win there for Amado Vargas. And then, also on that card, we got to mention former world champion Danny Jacobs, now 37-5. Because he lost a wide unanimous decision to Shane Mosley Jr. What a scalp for him, by the way. 22-4. That one, a unanimous decision over 10. Jacobs cut as well from an accidental headbutt in round 8. He did have, I think, a decent end to the fight, Danny Jacobs, but he just didn't do enough in the early rounds. He would be outworked, really. He would try and kind of end the rounds with some eye-catching sort of shots. He'd try and land the backhand just as the 10-second clapper was going in some of the rounds, just to try and steal the round. But it wasn't working, because he might have won the last 10 seconds of a couple of the rounds, but in reality he lost the first 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes 50 of the round. Outworked really by the younger, more hungrier man, I think is probably the best way to put it. Eddie, I don't know if you saw that fight. I don't know if you've just heard about that fight. If you've only just heard about it, then keep it nice and brief. But it looks like the end of the road probably for Danny Jacobs. Let's keep it short.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but man, it's unfortunate. And like I said last time, man, I'm a big Mosley fan, but I know Danny, and Danny's a good guy, great fighter. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate that, it looks like this might be the end for him. But maybe not. I don't know. You know what I mean? Shane Mosley Jr. has improved greatly over the last few years, and his last 5 fights. So, you can maybe give the credit there. You know what I mean? And then maybe wait and see with Danny. But reality of it is, it's just not looking good. Like I said, he's been up and down in his last 5. So, unfortunately, Danny might be looking at the end. But it's good for Shane Jr., you know what I mean? And as you know, I was a great big Shane fan too. So it's nice to see his son doing well. So, congrats to him, and hopefully he's going to continue to do this, do the business in the future.
Moving on to the Toyota Arena in California, USA. This one was live on DAZN. On the undercard, Alex Martin, now 18-6. He lost a unanimous decision over 10 to Pedro Campa, former opponent of Teofimo Lopez, now 36-3 with a draw. What a way to pick up your 40th win. He upset not 40th win. What a way to just celebrate your 40th pro fight. He was the underdog, so he's upset the odds there. Both fighters had a point deducted in round 5 for hitting on the break, and Alex Martin down in the 10th round. Again, that was a fight that I felt would go the distance. I just want to make sure that I haven't missed any other fights and the odds and stuff like that on them. No, I don't think I have. Also, one that I forgot to mention from earlier, but John Hedges, I backed him to win on points at 11-10, so you could just over double your money on that one as well. I gave everyone that as well. Moving on, like I say, Alex Martin, Pedro Campa, we've done that. Let's go to the main event there, though. William Zepeda now 31-0. Another knockout, a 3rd round knockout against Giovanni Cabrera, who was 22-1, now 22-2, and he's stopped for the first time. His other loss was a split or majority decision to Isaac Pitbull Cruz, but here he gets dispatched of in just 3 rounds by the massive punching William Zepeda, who looked really, really good, by the way. Cabrera down and then counted out from a body shot. He didn't want to get up, to be totally honest, in that 3rd round. So, really destructive performance from Zepeda. I really like watching him fight. I don't think he gets enough credit. He's one of them guys, like, he doesn't have a belt, and who needs him? You know, that's really what it comes down to. You would not want to fight this guy. You know, he's like, I don't want to call him a boogeyman, but you'd want to avoid this guy. You know, he's got 27 KOs from his 31 wins. He's such a big puncher, and I think he's got a good chin. He's got a very exciting style, and he's a guy you'd want to stay away from. He is probably the guy you'd want to stay away from down at 135, and it was great to see him win again. He is such a good fighter. I really want to see him in with the likes of Tank Davis and all the rest of them guys there. Moving now to the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, USA. Over here, this one was on Sky Sports. It was also on ESPN, by the way. Let's start with the undercard. Abdullah Mason with a nice win. He's now 14-0. A TKO for him in the third against Luis Lebron, who's now 20-6 with a draw. Third round TKO. Like I say, Abdullah Mason becomes the first man to stop LeBron. Very good performance that from Abdullah Mason, it has to be said. Also on the card, Keyshawn Davis with a win, now 11-0, a unanimous decision against the ever so tough Miguel Madueno, now 31-3. That one for the IBF USBA, the WBC USA, and the WBO Intercontinental Lightweight titles. A lot of alphabets there. Good win for Keyshawn. I'm a big fan of Keyshawn. Some people aren't, but I really like him. I think he goes through the gears nicely. I don't think he's the puncher that we maybe first thought he was. I think he's kind of shown that now. Like, he gets in with a true durable fighter, and he hits him with everything but the kitchen sink, really. But obviously there are guys that, you know, they're just hard to stop. Like, you need that extra something, and, you know, a lot of people don't have that. Obviously, the guy's still young. He's still, you know, getting better and better. And I think he's definitely a future world champion. But I like what I see from him. I think he's a colourful character inside and outside the ring. And I'd like to get him on the podcast, to be honest. He's my type of fighter, I think. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of his. And that guy, you know, Madueno, just kept coming back. Like, he took everything that got through at him and kept coming back. So, very, very... very good performance, I think, there from Keyshawn. Also on that card we saw, I'm going to come to you for this one, Eddie, because I think you saw more of it than I did. O'Shaki Foster now 22-3 because he loses by split decision his WBC Super Featherweight World title at the hands of the Brazilian Robson Conceicao. His name is Robson, Eddie, which means there's a Rob in there. And I think it's fair to point that out based off of the scorecards at the end. Robson Conceicao, 19-2 with a draw. We've seen him on the bad side of decisions in the past, but here he seemed to be on the good side of it and the bad side for O'Shaki. I did see bits of it. I didn't see as much as you did, but yeah, by all accounts, a robbery.
Yeah, man. You know, Rob, son. He got robbed, son. So no, it's unfortunate, you know, when you see this. It's, and I'm not gonna say that, you know, that the guy didn't try, didn't work, he didn't put effort in. And sometimes those kinds of situations, it can be a little bit hard to score because one guy's busy, and even though he might not be landing a lot, he still looks to be the guy who's somewhat, quote unquote, in control. When in reality, if all of your offensive efforts are nullified, it's almost as if you didn't throw anything, then you should be able to decipher whether or not the guy's winning. I mean, that's what I think. But obviously, and I don't know if this is a little plot twist on this thing too, is that all of the judges for that particular fight were really, really in what's the word I'm looking for? New, I guess. Inexperienced. There you go. They were very inexperienced judges. They didn't have a lot of title fights under their belt, not a lot of fights, I think, at all. But I guess in that situation, you know, if you've seen fights at a high level, if you've seen fights at a low level, you should be able to decipher who's winning, and you should understand the criteria of boxing. I don't think that just because they didn't have a whole lot of title fights, you know, doesn't really excuse the incorrect judging. And that's just me. You know what I mean? But I think, you know, you got to look at the fighters. You got to look at Shaquille Foster, what he is, whether there's going to be any excitement really around him, whether he can create any, you know, appetizing matchups. And it's just really not the case. He's going to be a tough fight for just about anybody. And even if you get a big name in there, that those big names are going to have a hard time with this guy. He's a pretty clever, good defensive and extremely good counterpuncher. So he's hard. He's a hard guy to fight, especially if he's fairly durable. And he's, like I said, he's not getting hit very much. So, you know, it's not going to be as exciting as that people wanted to see. Like this fight in particular that we're talking about, you know, I think there were boos that were thrown in. And that, you know, it wasn't for the lack of effort from Robson Conceicao. He tried to make the fight a little more entertaining, but Shaquille Foster wasn't having none of it. And he was just landing counter shots, smart shots, hair picking and prodding. And don't get me wrong, I didn't see every moment of it, but from what I saw, I can kind of turn my head and say, oh, yeah, this kid got it in the bag. Because it didn't look like Conceicao was going to hurt him because he couldn't even fucking hit him. So, you know, unfortunately, when the judges took a long time to come up with the tally, which was already like alarming. So then you hear the one say 116, 112 for Conceicao was the first card read. And it's like, huh? So this is going to be a split or a majority? Are you freaking kidding me? And then the other one was for, obviously, Shaquille. So it's going to be a split. I'm like, whoa, what is going on? Then I immediately understood. You know what I mean? And you just have to honestly, and I'm not trying to, it's corrupt. I'm just looking at what we're looking at with Shaquille Foster, right? He's not going to be an exciting guy to watch for fans. He's not going to have a lot of matchups with fighters that are going to be appetizing for the lay fan to watch. So he's not going to sell a lot of tickets. And I'm not trying to say that they put some salt in the game, but the reality of it is, man, this is sports. This is a sport that is entertainment. You understand what I'm saying? And unfortunately, he's not entertaining enough. And I succumbed to some of these bullcrap type situations too because of my style. All skill, no thrill, I guess. So, you know, unfortunately, you know, when you look at him and what he's going to do in the future, this is always going to be something he has to think about. Great that he got a title, you know, because some of us didn't, you know, but it's great that he got a title and he is respected. He's going to go down in history as a champion. It's just unfortunate that his career may now in the future be marred by things like this and bad decisions and just unfortunate incidents like what we have in this sport. And this may not be the last time it happens to him. I just hate to say it. But look, one more thing, and because I'm talking too much already. You know, I had people who were like, they're boxing people, but they're still not as educated, say that they didn't understand why it was such a big outcry and why Conceicao won. There was a few people that actually felt that him doing what he did made the fight. So sometimes it just blows my mind. But, you know, like I said, these aren't people who 100% know boxing. And this just is the same thing when you look at these judges and what they just did in this fight. It's the people that just don't know what they're doing. And we need to have educated people in all positions in this sport so these things don't happen. I'm sorry, Joe. That's it. I got you, man.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you made some good points there. I have to agree. Again, from the bits I saw, it did look like Shock was in full control. But again, I do just want to quickly go back to a couple of my picks, and I actually did pick Robson Conceicao to win by decision. I didn't think at all that it was going to come in the way that the fight went, but again, I saw that decision get announced, and it was the commentary team were calling it out straight away, but again, Robson Conceicao by decision was 11-4, so almost triple your money there, plus your stake back. I've also missed a couple as well. Abdullah Mason was 1-2 for the KO, which again, it's not like you're doubling your money, but it's a good little addition to any parlays or accumulators. And William Zepeda to win by KO again was 10-21, so round about the same odds as Abdullah Mason getting a KO. And also Keyshawn Davis by decision as well was 11-10, so just over doubling your money there. So again, another bunch of picks that came in. And then my final pick as well of all those winning ones there. So Conceicao decision, Nate Diaz decision, Yasmina Zapatoxna decision, Abdullah Mason KO, William Zepeda KO, John Hedges decision, Keyshawn Davis decision, and Johnny Fisher round 1. The last one is Shakur Stevenson decision, which was 20-21. Again, I put all of these in the free boxing betting group with over 200 members that you can join. Just let me know if you want to join it, and I'll add you in. It's on Telegram. 20-21 for Shakur Stevenson to win by decision, which of course happened. A unanimous decision over 12 rounds there. A successful defense of his WBC lightweight world title. Shakur now 22-0. Artem Harutyunyan, I think his name may or may not be said, is now 12-2. Obviously racked up 2 losses, I think, in a row now. The first one to Frank Martin, the second one to Shakur Stevenson. Eddie, I feel like Shakur I feel like he's a villain this week. I think he's tweeted over 200 times. Someone counted how many tweets he's done since the fight, and within a few days he tweeted about 200 times. He's arguing with Marcus Brown, he's arguing with Ishe Smith, he's arguing with a few media guys, he's arguing with former boxers, he's arguing with women, everyone. A lot of people are getting onto him for his performance, saying he just runs and the rest of it. Again, I think Artem was a tough guy, could take a good shot. Obviously, tried to make a fight of it, but again, Shakur he's safety first, but I don't think he's the runner that they're making him out to be. I feel like he's catching a lot of strays, as they would say. I don't think he deserves all this backlash. I still think he's such a good fighter, and I still think that we're going to see him adapt to different styles. And obviously, if he's going to meet a guy who's going to be super aggressive, trying to bring the fight to him, he's going to make him run into things all night. It's just the way to fight. I just don't think he's a crowd pleaser. And I don't think there's much wrong with that. As I've said so many times, this is a safety first sport. It's about hitting and not getting hit. And I don't care if that makes you boring. People just want to see, a lot of fans just want to see knockouts and want to see, fight of the year candidates and stuff like that. I'm not bothered about any of that, because to me, I'm interested in the art of boxing. That's why, I wasn't Mayweather's biggest fan, but I respect so much what he did. He mastered that art, and I don't have much bad words to say about Shakur Stevenson. He's a guy that we've had on the show a few times. He's a really nice guy. I've always got on so well with him over interviews. But yeah, again, from what I saw of the fight, I did actually watch the whole thing, but to be totally honest, I can't remember much of it, which probably speaks for itself in some way. But yeah, dominant performance from Shakur as expected, Eddie. But again, I just think he's picking up too much abuse.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it that may be warranted just because of, you don't need to talk so much. You know what I mean? Like, I understand he's trying to sell himself and he's trying to be exciting somewhere, if not in the ring. You know what I mean? So, he's like, I'm gonna talk my shit. You know what I mean? So, for lack of a better term, but you have to. I think at some point you just gotta go dark, man. You just gotta let these types of things happen, because they're not gonna like you. They already have an issue with your style. You're building a Mayweather type situation, even though Floyd was a little bit of a different fighter early on. I think Shakur is what Floyd is now, or what he would be at the end of his career when he was, really careful and, and stuff like that. I think that's what Shakur is now, and he's doing it from the beginning all the way up. And I think that, he's a hell of a fighter. He's one of the best skilled fighters in boxing, and he got one of the highest IQs. He's defensively responsible. And I think that's what really gets him the backlash. Most of these people, even the fighters, oh, man, you run and all of this. And he wasn't really running in this fight. He was just being safe, staying away from unnecessary, stray shots, which is smart, which you're supposed to do. Just like you said, Joe, it's a smart thing. It's a smart way to fight. But he does it like I did it, like directly in front of you. I caught most of the punches. I was very careful about what punches I threw, if they put me in a certain situation or at a certain angle. With him, he does it with range more so than he does it at close, which is a little less exciting. Is now he's using the ring more, he's creating space, and he only lands, no one else does, and then he'll clinch, that kind of shit. And it kind of rubs people the wrong way. They really don't like it. But in this fight, I think he fought. He knew. This is why I give him a lot of credit. He understands who he's fighting. Every time he gets in the ring with any type of fighter, he understands them almost right within a few minutes. I mean, a few rounds. Like, he knows what they're going to end up being and what he has to do to win. You understand what I'm saying? And that's a talent. His IQ is extremely high. I think maybe him and Tank in that area, in that division, they at the highest IQs for sure. But he just understands exactly what he needs to do to win. So it's like he knew with the one kid he fought that got, I forget his Edwin Dos Santos, I think it was. He knew with him, I think that was his name. He knew with him what he had to do to win. Whether he had injuries or not, he knew that he couldn't stick around and stay close or give him opportunities to land one of them big shots, because the kid could punch and he was fast, right? But then with this guy, he was really awkward and had a little shifty type, up and down, bouncing kind of rhythm. And in order for him to stop all that, he had to walk him down. He had to be in the kitchen. He had to throw shots. He had to keep him off balance. He had to somewhat even maul him at times in order to keep that rhythm from upsetting what he was trying to do offensively. He couldn't fight him at range the same way as he did with some of these other guys because of how awkward he was. He got a great amateur background. He knows how to win fights by a little bit, and he knows how to be awkward. That guy. So he had to fight him that way. And I think, that is in itself should get a bit more credit than what he does. But this is why I'm saying boxing is first off one, what have you done for me lately sport? As we all know that. And lately, what we've seen from Shakur is a bunch of unexciting type boxing. It works, and he's one of the best in the world, but he's just not one of the most exciting in the world. And it really throws off the majority of fans who are going to watch him. And he and now he's really building this villain thing. I think that he might need to really kind of just lay all the way into that. You know what I mean? Just kind of, because his style is not fan friendly. So it's just like Floyd Mayweather, especially at the end of his career, he wasn't fighting, especially at the top level with some of these guys who were really good. He was fighting safe enough just to win. He wasn't necessarily trying to create no excitement. He created this thing where people hated him so much that they wanted to see him lose. Same thing with Ali back in the day, but his fights were actually exciting. So they was paying to see him lose, but at the same time, it was exciting to watch too. But in this case, he could build that with this situation that's going on, because right now, even boxing people, and this is crazy. I didn't even know that he was doing all this on Twitter, but even boxing people don't like him. Like him. You know what I mean? And I know a few that he rubs them the wrong way. And then on top of that, the way he fights. So, look, I said a lot. I'm sorry. He's a fantastic game fighter, one of the best there is right now. And I really enjoy watching his skills. But most of the people who don't know boxing are going to watch this and say he's awful to watch. I can't stand him. But he's a great fighter. So at the end of the day, as long as he continues to win, we're going to have to watch. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for me. I'm looking forward to it, but it's the fans, the other fans, that are going to have a hard time. So yeah, great win. I hope to see him again. I know a lot of people don't. I think he's an awesome fighter.
And then lastly, the final card to mention of the review part. We're going to go now to Sunday, July 7th at the well, I'm not going to try and pronounce that place there, but a venue in Tokyo, Japan. Kazuto Ioka, the home fighter, now 31-3 with a draw. Didn't see the fight, but he lost a unanimous decision at home over 12 rounds to Fernando Martinez, now 17-0, now the IBF and WBA Super-Flyweight champion of the world. So another upset there, slight upset, because Martinez was the underdog there in Tokyo, Japan. That brings the review part to a close. The final thing for me to do now is to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WBA and WBC Super-Lightweight champion of the world. It is, of course, the Rougarou himself, Mr. Regis Prograis. Regis, welcome back on the show, my friend.
All right, man. Thanks for having me, brother. Glad to be back.
Hey, it's always fantastic having you on, Regis. You're on the intro every week for our listeners. So, Regis, we last spoke back in November. At the time, you were getting ready to fight Devin Haney. Let's just start with that briefly. What seemed to go wrong on the night, Regis?
Well, first off, even before that, man, like, Kemp was, I feel like in that fight, I really wanted to win that fight so bad, and I did too long. I feel like I did too long. Was asking me, they was like, man, you don't think that's gonna be too long of a camp? And not realizing, it really. I feel like that happened, and I feel like I just got too much into, like, playing the mind games with them. Instead of, for me, like, boxing is fun, bro. I have fun with boxing, and at that time I kind of lost it because I just wanted to hurt them. I just really wanted to hurt them, and it wasn't like, and I really didn't like them at the time, and and for me, boxing, it always been like, obviously everybody know boxing is more mental than physical. We all train and stuff, but the people that separate themselves is the people that's more better mentally. And so I feel like, that's kind of what happened with me is like, I just, I didn't, I just fought a bad fight. I didn't fight the right fight and stuff like that.
Yeah, the build-up was so exciting. The mind games, the face-offs, it was just so exciting. All the build-up, right. It really was. Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. I feel like I even got caught up in doing that too much. I got caught up in wanting to do this and wanting to do that, and just talking so much trash and stuff like that. And I feel like I want to do that and not put that energy into the fight. I just did all that, but I should have put all the energy I was doing with the build up and all that stuff into the fight. And I remember, and really I was cool. I was cool for the most part, but I remember that Friday was the ceremonial weigh-in, and with that, it's just like, man, when I exploded, I was like, man, fuck the Haneys, and I exploded. It was like, somebody called my people, and it was like, yeah, they got him. They got to him. And I was cool the whole time. I was good, but I was having fun, and until that time, I just kind of exploded, and I should never, for me, I should never did it. And I took like the fun out of the boxing, like, like I like.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And you were so confident when we spoke. You were really convinced that, Devin was going to get stopped. You were saying he had no power.
Yeah.
But he actually did look very heavy-handed on the night. My last question on the fight itself, what was his power like, Regis?
Honestly, brother, it really didn't. It didn't change. Like, he was more sharper, and really, I remember I got dropped, but I was like, it never hurt. Like, I feel like I never got hurt in a fight and stuff like that. It just was like my feet work. That's what I'm kind of working on right now. But I still feel the same way. I feel like, I feel like I never got hurt, and I saw that, you know, when I got dropped, it was just like I ran into a punch, you know. So anybody can drop you when you kind of run into a punch and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I did. And I still feel like he don't got no power.
Okay. Let's leave that in the past and move on to what's next. You'll be boxing Jack Catterall August 24th in Manchester. What do you make of Jack as a fighter, Regis, and how do you see this fight playing out, my friend?
Obviously, I feel like I'm going to win. I feel like I'm going to just go out there and do my thing, just like I always say, man. I just want to go out there and do me and just prove the world I'm still here. You know, everybody, you know, I feel like people write me off and stuff, but listen, my physical skills, the physical part of me is still here. You know what I'm saying? Like, the only part of me that I had to work on is the mental part. And, you know, I'm working on that. I worked on that already, so I'm good. But the physical is still here. And, you know, you put me and Jack Catterall up in you know, if I use my skills against him and I use my physical against him, I beat him 10 times out of 10. That's what I feel. I mean, like I said, I feel like he's an okay fighter, but he's never fought nobody. I mean, the thing is, his claim to fame was the Josh Taylor thing. That was it. You know, his claim to fame was Josh Taylor, but besides that, you know, you go down his box rate, he never really fought nobody, especially like nobody on my resume, you know, and I feel like I fought better boxers and I fought bigger punchers, you know, but obviously, you know, I'm not looking past him, man. I'm totally invested in myself, and, you know, I just want to go out there. And like I said, man, for me, it's just, you know, my goal, my aim is to be a 3-time champion. And this is, for me, this is the biggest fight, you know, without the belt. So I'm all in it.
And are you excited to come back to the UK? I know that obviously you boxed in London before. It wasn't necessarily Josh Taylor's backyard. Obviously, he's from Scotland, but you were received well. The fans loved you. Obviously, this time you're fighting in pretty much Jack's backyard, but still the UK fans have got a lot of love for you.
Right. I feel like the UK fans have a lot of love for me. I feel like, I mean, that's it. Honestly, brother, I'm going to tell you, Matchroom, that's all they offer me. That's what they said. You got to do this or nothing else. And so I was like, shit, if that's what y'all want to do to me, that's cool. I'll do that, you know. If that's what they did. They said, listen, you can fight this fight or there's no other fight. You only have this option. So, all right, cool. I'll take it. I'll do it. I'll take the fight. And I feel like me and Jack, you know, we were supposed to fight, you know, like I said, we were supposed to fight we was really supposed to fight a few years ago, but it just never came through. You know, when we both was with Probellum, we were supposed to fight a while ago, but it kind of just never happened. So I feel like, man, I do think that this is the biggest fight that they can make without the belt. And, you know, after this, I'll be, you know, right back on to fight for the world title again. So I'm cool with it. I'm cool with the fight. I do feel like it's definitely a really winnable fight for me. Even being in the UK, I don't feel no different about it. So for me, I'm all in.
You say there that the fight could have been made a while back, and that kind of leads me in what I was going to say next, because obviously in boxing things change quickly. I personally felt that Jack beat Josh in their first fight, and Jack, for me, should have been the undisputed, undefeated super-lightweight world champion. Obviously, when he didn't get the decision and the rematch with Josh wasn't looking likely, you know, Jack called you out at the time because you'd picked up the WBC title, and I like Jack, not as much as I like you, don't worry about that, but I get along with Jack, and I said to Jack, I think those belts do belong to you, Jack. You should have had them on the night you beat Josh, but if you absolutely have to fight for them, don't fight someone like Regis Prograis. Fight someone's grandmother. Get a nice, easy win, and you deserve the belt anyway, but that's a hard fight for you, fighting Regis. You deserve an easy route. Now, fast forward to today, and Jack has obviously avenged that loss to Josh Taylor. You're coming off, no disrespect, but 2 below par performances, and now Jack is the favourite in this fight. And some people think he wins easy. I don't know if I've asked you a question in there or not, but things change quickly. Can you understand why he might be the favourite in some people's eyes?
Of course, I understand. Listen, if it wasn't me fighting, I wouldn't understand. Yeah, I'm coming up 2 bad performances. You know, that's fine. And I feel like, you know, that's why they, you know, they feel like they can take the fight right now because they think I'm coming off, because I am coming off 2 bad performances, you know. And like I said, it just, for me, listen, if I'm me, if I am me from a few months ago, a few years ago, listen, I beat him easily. I know I beat him easily, you know. So I just have to, the main thing, man, I just have to go out there and just be me, be me, the one that, the one that became a champion, the one that became a 2-time champion. If I do that, I shouldn't have no type of hard route at all. I really do. I mean, like I said, I think that Jack is a good fighter and stuff. But I mean, listen, if I'm me in there, I shouldn't have no problems.
Yeah, and that's the big question. If you're you, I mean, you at your peak, you're one of the most dangerous men pound for pound, in my honest opinion. I know, obviously, every fight in a boxer's career is a must-win fight, but I do kind of feel like this is a true must-win fight for you. Do you feel that way as well, Regis?
I never feel like that, man. I just don't. I don't put the pressure on me. I mean, everybody say that type of stuff, but listen, man. If you look at the careers of like a Roberto Duran and all that type of stuff, they had those same type of fights, and they lost, and then they just out of the blue, they came out of nowhere and they just won, and they kept winning. So, I really don't feel like that. But I mean, if the fans feel like that, if the promoters feel like that, that's fine. But I don't really feel like that, man. I feel like I just want to go out there and perform, and I want to go out there and show people that I'm still me, and go out there and show everybody the kind of what I've been working on. That's the main thing, and see how much I'm improving. I started boxing late, so I didn't really get a lot of fundamentals down. I always just was a fighter in there, and I always applaud myself because, man, I became a 2-time world champion just by fighting, really just street fighting in the ring, But now, I'm doing different things, and I'm working on different things, and that, for me, that's what I want to show the people.
So where does this fight rank amongst the most important fights of your career thus far?
Honestly, brother, I feel like I had bigger ones. I feel like when I fought for the title both times, they was big. I feel like Josh Taylor was a bigger fight, because you got to realize they had belts on the line. This is a big fight, but I mean, I still look at it as a big fight, and but they all big. I feel like they're all big, but this is up there, but obviously I fought bigger because I fought for the titles, so I fought for the title a few times. So that's, those was always big. And obviously, the Devin Haney fight, that was a big fight just because, we have, Devin Haney's a bigger name and stuff. And then, so those was bigger fights.
And I know that you, of course, watched on the weekend, man. Oshaki getting robbed on the scorecards to Robson Conceicao. There's a clue in Robson's first name there. I wanted to get your reaction to that because I think it's fair to say that was a robbery.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible, man. I feel like, man, listen, this is what we have to do, and me including you in the media, man. We have to. Why don't we interview the judges? That don't make no sense, man. Like, I feel like they just get off easy. The judges can have a bad score, they can have a bad night, just like everybody else, and they just go home to their families. Like, it should be some pressure on the judges, just like it is on us. After the fight, we have a post fight press conference. The fighters, the promoters, even like Mauricio Suleiman, the sanctioning bodies in Mendoza, they get interviewed. Everybody gets interviewed, even like Steven Espinoza been interviewed, So why doesn't the judges get interviewed? That doesn't make sense. The judges just get off. So they can it's no pressure on them. They can get off. They can just go and just get off, and it's scot-free. It doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter. And you talk about somebody like Shock that been working, he been working his ass off for this, and you could see he was about to cry in the ring. Like, it was a blowout. That was a true blowout, and they gave him the fight. That was one of the worst I ever seen. But the judges should be held accountable. And we always say, in boxing, we always say this, but nothing never happens. Like, why does nothing ever happen? We always say, oh, yeah, the judges should be held accountable. And the judges never be held accountable. It just don't make sense. Like, I feel like, man, you should put pressure on them, just like what we did with, when we was having a lot of police brutality and the police killing innocent people and stuff. They put cameras on them, so they start seeing. So it should be the same thing with the judges. I feel like, man, put the pressure on them from the people. If the judge does feel like, all right, they scored this way, they should be interviewed and say, all right, why did you score the fight this way? That's what should happen, But it's no pressure on the judges. They can just do that and just go home, and it's fine. Whatever, go to their families, and that's cool.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Something does need to happen, and I'm gutted for Oshaki. He's been on the show before, and I know he's been working hard for years in the shadows, man. And he's just signed to Top Rank, and look what happens. It's sad.
Right.
Right, yeah, I wanted to say as well, obviously in in your division at 140, there's been so much movement. Obviously, Liam Paro upsetting Subriel Matias, Devin Haney vacating, the whole division has been turned upside down. You've had Gary Russell losing to Alberto Puello. Is it exciting times for you, or is it a bit frustrating not kind of being amongst those names at the minute?
No, I mean, I'm not frustrated. I mean, I've been there. Listen, I've been number one in the division. I've been number one in the world. I mean, I'm not worried about that. You know what I'm saying? It just for me, all I want to do is just get back to my spot again. You know, that's the main thing. You know, so I'm right there, and like I feel like after this fight, man, like this is a real big fight, and I feel like, man, right there after this night, after August 24th, I'll be right back in one of those top spots. I feel like for sure I'll be back in one of those top spots.
And just before we wrap things up, Regis, I just wanted to say, if you've got any closing words to the listeners, say whatever you like. We love you on this show. You always give me some fantastic interviews, my friend.
I want to thank everybody that been following me, my career, you know, since it started. And, you know, right now I'm working to, you know, become a 3-time champion. That's my goal right now. And, you know, hopefully, you know, everybody come out on August 24th. They come support, you know, they come support me. They come support Jack Catterall. They come support just boxing in general. You know, I definitely feel like it's gonna be a good night. I'm excited about it, and it's gonna be a real good night of boxing. So I just thank everybody, and you know, I'll see y'all then.
There we go. August 24th is the date. Listen, Regis, as always, the pleasure's mine. Thanks for your time. Best of luck, and we'll speak sometime afterwards, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part here is the preview part because there's no news. If anything happens from now to the end of the show, if there's any news that breaks during that time, I'll get onto it on the outro. But let's move to the preview part. Like I say, we're starting here tomorrow, Friday, July 12th, at the Polideportivo Alexis Arguello in Nicaragua over here. Return to the ring for Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, 51-4, hasn't boxed since 2022, losing to Estrada. He's back here in a 10-rounder against Robert Barrera, who's 27-5, coming off 3 wins in a row against guys with losing records. All the best there to Chocolatito. Hopefully still looks his good old self, even though he's 55 fights into his pro career now. Moving now to Russia. This one goes down as well tomorrow, so again, Friday. This one goes down in a venue I can't pronounce once again. Sorry about that, guys. I know that you're probably upset that I'm not at least trying. But anyway, this fight here, we're going to see a guy called Albert Batirgaziev, who has a record of 10-0 with 7 KOs. He's a Russian southpaw, 26 years of age, 5'5.5" at super featherweight. Been in with a couple of decent fighters as a pro. He's only had 10 fights, you can't expect too much, but he steps in with friend of the show, John O'Carroll, 24-2 with a draw. This one is for the vacant WBA interim super featherweight world title, so all the best there to John O'Carroll on the road. Yeah, really hope he can pull it off, but I don't know too much about Batirgaziev. He's probably just one of them Russians that's, you know, been a good amateur, like loads of them are. But I couldn't tell you too much about the guy. I don't know the name. Moving now to the John Charles Centre for Sport in Leeds, Yorkshire, United Kingdom. This one goes down on Saturday, a Steve Wood show. One fight to mention on the undercard here. Bradley the Sting Ray, friend of the show, 17-1 in a 4-rounder at light heavyweight. No opponent just yet for him. It's a TBA, so hopefully he gets an opponent sorted in time. Moving now to this one here, it goes down at the Skate Central in Sheffield. Over here, we're going to see Dave Allen back in the ring, 22-6 with 2 draws. I hope this fight goes ahead. He's supposed to be boxing Amin Bushetta, who is 8-14 currently. He's a tough, durable kind of fighter. 8-14, the Belgian. However, he did box just last week. So I don't know if it's definitely happening. He boxed on a Frank Warren show. I don't know if Frank Warren stole Dave Allen's opponent or what. But he did box literally in the Copper Bosch last week. We didn't mention his fight on the review part of this show because he didn't really have a massive fight. He only boxed a guy who was 2-0. But yeah, he steps in with Dave Allen. It doesn't say how many rounds it is, but I guess it could happen. You're allowed to fight in the UK, 1 week apart. So yeah. That hopefully does go ahead for Dave Allen. All the best to him. I think he's got himself in some decent shape as well, if my memory serves me right. Another good guy, another friend of the show, another friend of Eddie's. Moving now to the Palms Casino Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada. This one goes down on Sky Sports. It is also going to be on ESPN. Yeah, this is an interesting fight here. I would have liked to see it maybe a few years ago, but Raymond Muratalla, 20-0. He's looking very good at the moment. He's in a 10-rounder here against friend of the show, former world champion Tevin Farmer, 33-5 with a draw. Of course, I'm rooting for Tevin Farmer because he's a friend of the show, even though I haven't spoke to him for quite a while. But yeah, obviously, since losing to Jojo Diaz back in 2020, he hasn't really boxed anywhere near this kind of level, and he's a big underdog against Muratalla, who's in some really, really good form. Yeah, he looked fantastic, banging out Nakafila in 2 rounds a couple of fights back. But he did go the distance last time out against Zolisani and Dongeni. But again, he's a good fighter, Muratalla. That should be interesting. And yeah, moving to the main event, Janibek Alim Kanuli. I've heard him called many, many other names, but he is 15-0. It's a battle of the undefeated fighters here. He steps in with Andrei Mikhailovic, who is 21-0 from New Zealand. By way of Russia. I was going to say it's not a very New Zealand sounding name. He's coming off a stoppage win in the first round against Les Sherrington. That is some serious levels down from Janibek. I'm just looking for his record, to be honest with you, and there's nothing that jumps out at me at all. Again, he's another guy I completely haven't heard of. Janibek, I think, has been saying on social media that he wants to get a stoppage nice and early so people can go after the boxing and enjoy the rest of the night. So, yeah. He wants to get it done early for the fans in attendance there at the Palms Casino Resort. That one is for the IBF and WBO middleweight world titles. Moving now to the final card to mention, Eddie, and it goes down at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA. It's going to be live on DAZN. It's a Matchroom boxing card. Let's start with the undercard. I'm going to start here with friend of the show, Sky Nicholson, back in action. Haven't actually had her on the show since she picked up her world title, but obviously she's a champion now. She's defending it here on the road once again, and she steps in with, well, her record is, by the way, 10-0 with 1 KO. She steps in with Diana Vargas, who's 19-1 with 12 KOs. Bit of a puncher, actually, certainly for that weight. All the best to Sky Nicholson. I can't tell you too much about her opponent at all, and I feel bad about that because it seems like I've said that a few times this week, but yeah, good looking record, but I couldn't tell you that I've seen her fight before. It of course is for Sky's WBC featherweight world title. All the best there to Sky Nicholson. And then yeah, the main event, Jaron Ennis, 31-0, defending his IBF welterweight world title against David Avanesian, who was on the podcast last week. He is 30-4 with a draw. Yeah, it's over 12 rounds, of course. It's obviously a late replacement job for David Avanesian, stepping in for Cody Crowley. Jaron Ennis in a homecoming here. What else can I say? Jaron Ennis has been out the ring for over a year, hasn't boxed since that fight against Roman Villa, which was just over a year ago now. I think it's about a year and a week, something like that. It was back in July of last year, and we're still, well, we're kind of getting to mid-July now, and it's been a year, so about a year and a week since he last boxed. Yeah, it's good to see Jaron Ennis back in the ring once again. I have a lot of time for David, obviously, good friends with his manager. Jaron Ennis, friend of the show. Like I say, both guys are friends of the show. I wish them both the best. But yeah, I don't know if... When the fight first got made, I was thinking, I don't know if Ennis is catching Avanesian at the right time while he's on the come down kind of thing. But then I thought to myself, is he actually on the come down? I mean, I'm saying he's on a come down because he lost to Terence Crawford after going on the best run of his career. So he would have always lost to Terence Crawford. I don't know if I can read into that too much. Since the Crawford lost, he's come back with a nice easy win against a journeyman back in December, so he's at least had a fight in the meantime that Ennis hasn't. But one thing you will always get with David Avanesian, he will fight anyone. I don't think he's bothered too much about the notice. He lives clean and he trains all year round, like he said on last week's show through his broken English. Yeah, I'd love to see him win. I think it'd be fantastic for the team, but he is up against it with Ennis. And one thing I just want to say is I'd be very, very stunned if Ennis got him out in the first half of the fight. I really would. I think on paper and also on form, aside from that one loss to Crawford, this is, he's getting in there with a good fighter here. This is on paper one of the toughest fights that Ennis would have had. But stylistically, I do think Ennis might be a bit too cute for David. But David is super, super, super tough. So again, I think it will take him a few rounds to actually get to him. But yeah, what a career David has had anyway. This is like a kind of last hurrah. I think it'll probably be his last crack at a world title. So he'll probably give it his all. But I think he's had a heck of a career. I think he's been given some great opportunities. He's always put in a good effort. He's always, done his best. But yeah, I'm not expecting him to win this fight. I'm expecting Ennis to get to him somewhere in the second half of the fight, I'd say. I wouldn't be stunned if it went the full distance and he didn't get a stoppage. I wouldn't be stunned with that. I think he's much better than the likes of Karen Chikadzian, who went the distance with Ennis. But at this point in their careers, Ennis is very much on the rise, and I keep going back to that same thing. I don't know why I want to say that David's on the way down, because he only lost to Terence Crawford. But I think age-wise, it may suggest he's on the way down, and this just might be too sharp of a spike back up to the top kind of echelon again, after losing to Crawford. So my money would be on Ennis, but it would be from round 7 onwards. That's all I'm going to say, Eddie. I know you're going to probably say loads of complimentary things about Ennis, so I'll save that bit for you. I did David's compliments. And also, will you be going? It's not too far from the house.
Yes, sir. I'm actually going to be there.
I knew you was going.
Yeah, I was going. We talked. It's funny. We talked about this like weeks ago. I was trying to get my cousin, and Steve's going to be there. A few other friends and I are going to be over there. So yeah, it's nice, man. It's going to be a nice little situation we got going up there. We're going to watch the fight. I'm looking forward to it. I know David Avanesian. He's a really good fighter. You know what I mean? Like, and like you said, Joey, losing to Crawford is no harm in that. The best have lost to Crawford. It's like like saying you lost to Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean? It's getting close to that point. So that's nothing to sneeze at or worry about. You know what I mean? But I think Boots. I'm gonna say Ennis. I think Ennis is going to be one of the ones who end up in that position as well. I think he's going to be at the position that a Crawford is in the future. I just think the only thing with him, he just has to be a little more careful in how he approaches fights at times. You know what I mean? He needs to be a little more to the Shakur than to Isaac Cruz. You know what I mean? If that's the two major, counterweights. I'm not saying don't be yourself. Don't go in there and do the things that you can do, because that's what makes him great. but I think, he needs to be a little bit, a little more defensively responsible at times. He doesn't get a lot. I'm not saying that he gets hit a lot, but a lot of that is because when he puts his hands on guys, they immediately take notice of the power, which, I understand why they react that way. But he still, as he continues to move up and ascends upward, he's going to have to be a little bit more careful with some of these dudes he's running into. Like, if you remember the fight he had a few fights back, he got hit with a hell of a shot coming straight in, and it looked like it had an effect, but immediately, nothing. It was like he got hit, boom, and it looked like it shocked him, but it didn't do anything to his legs or anything, and he came right back and ended up stopping the guy. Can't remember his name right offhand, but he got him out in the first round. So, those things are great, but what happens when he gets in there with a guy like that who catches him like that and is not going to go anywhere? You know what I mean? And is going to continue to come back and going to continue to press him. Or what about if a guy that hits him like that actually can really hurt him? And now he's in trouble for the first time in his career. What is he going to do? And this is why these things need to be thought about and they need to be worked on, which I'm pretty sure they already are, and they're talked about all the time. And I don't think they're just looking like they're going to just walk through guys or treating things like they're going to just walk through guys all the time. But the reality of it is he has a lot of talent, a lot of ability, and and almost unlimited. But there's a such thing as a punch that, that you don't see. And if something like that lands, that derails everything. You know what I mean? There's fighters that go through it all the time. So I just think for him, as great a fighter as he's going to be, and as well as he's doing, and his ascension up is crazy. But he does need to be, in my opinion, he has to be a little more careful at times. And this is a good fight to start, because this guy is not just somebody, off the street. This ain't a guy that used to be good, and he's still, I think, all the way there. You know what I mean? Just a little bit older, which means a little bit wiser. He got the experience against a guy like Crawford who can switch and who can do some of these things that Boots does effortlessly. So he has experience in that. So, it's up to Boots now to find something and show something that he may not have seen. You know what I mean? He has a similar style, but he's going to have to add another little twist to it, because this guy's a vet. He's been around. He's one of the best fighters that he's been in the ring with. So it's going to take some doing. I don't think it's going to be easy. However, I think Boots has the power, the explosive power, the speed, and the skill to land the shots. And I think if he does get him hurt early, he gets him out of there. It could be anywhere in the first. It could be from 1 to 4. If he catches him right, because of his mentality and how he goes in, he's going to finish him. So if David Avanesian is able to make it to the second half of the fight, which I think he probably would, 5, 6, 7, I think it'll be middle to late that he'll end up getting stopped in. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was earlier.
Well, there we go. Fast Eddie has said his piece. That brings the preview part to a close. In part 1, we did the review part, then we welcomed our special guest. In part 2, there was no news. We went straight into the preview part. We've just wrapped that bit up just there. So yeah, the final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 456 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A special thank you to this week's special guest, that man being the former WBC and WBA Super-Lightweight Champion of the world, Mr. Regis Prograis. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. Thanks once again for tuning in. That is about everything, though, from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again same time next week.